Let's see this question. It says, and she wants to remain anonymous, so we will honor that, of course. I feel threatened when available men show a romantic interest in me. Sometimes I feel rage and hatred towards them. I've felt this way since I was a child. I'm 43 and single. I've been in one romantic relationship which lasted 3 years. I would like to be dating, but I would do anything to avoid putting myself in this situation where I feel powerless and in danger, even though logically I know that I'm neither. I understand the process and how to get a date worth keeping, but this reaction is too strong. How do I resolve it? It's probably connected to my relationship with my dad. Could you recommend any therapists I could Skype? I've talked to some in my city, haven't progressed in these. I'd like to remain anonymous. Um, you know what? I feel so much empathy on so many levels for this question, this person, whoever you are, um, because so many people can identify with this, and not just in the context of maybe a woman being anxious about being in a relationship with a man. But what you said in there about, wait a minute, logically, logically, I know that I'm not in danger. Logically, I know that I quote, shouldn't feel this way. There's no reason there. I'm not, no, this guy's not going to hurt me. Right. But I feel this way and it's so strong. And that's just a horrible feeling because what you're describing is that many, 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 many times our internal responses and our internal realities do not match external reality. Okay. You want to go get on a plane? Well, pretty much the odds are that plane's going to not crash. It's going to be fine. But you talk to some people who logically read all those statistics, but they get on that plane and they are scared to death. Well, something's going on inside that's responding to a very different reality, right, than the realities on the outside. Well, in your case, it has to do with a relationship. You said it had to do something to do with your dad, you feel like. I would just, probably expect, I mean, I believe you there, that you somehow are making some links to a particular feeling, powerlessness and in danger, and you feel rage. Well, I don't know what that's about, but you said you felt it since you were a child. And so, what I would really, really find, I think, really helpful here, because I've seen this lots and lots of times, is exactly what you said, to get with a good therapist where you can begin to see you got this isn't right, but it's right enough to communicate. You've kind of got two people inside that have two very different lives. Somewhere inside, there's this child, right, that had some kinds of experiences. I don't know with whom. I don't know if they were even exactly like we would probably guess they would be. Maybe you're overpowered and helpless, maybe. Could be dynamic, could be real. Something could have really happened. It could be really hurtful dynamics that are non-physical. But some way you felt really, really powerless. And my guess would be that, there's probably some experience or experiences that was really just factually true. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not you. But I do know that at least some dynamic developmentally left you with a real experience with some kind of man, probably, that you felt very powerless and helpless with. So what happens is that wiring, and you have a picture of self and other. And so that kid inside, that kid is eternal. Have you ever talked to anybody who had a near death experience or read about these? When you your soul, when you leave your body and disconnect from the physical world, which is where time lives, time is a physical construct, comes from the physical universe. and you get outside of time, they say, I saw my whole life right in front of me at once, right? Well, that's kind of one way to explain an experience like this. This is why post traumatic stress, PTSD, which you have, something that kind of like mimics it, sounds like it's sort of the same thing. You're experiencing trauma past when the trauma happened. And so where the heck is time? See, when you go out on a date, it's not 2020. It's, I don't know, you're 37. It's what's that, 2083? Is that right? Yeah. I can't remember. You're 43. I'm sorry, you're 43. Anyway, it's a long time ago. That's what day it is inside of you. It's from that time. So here's what happens. When you get into good therapy, what happens is you bring that experience into the present. See, we never go back in the past. And this is a big misunderstanding about therapy. You don't go back into the past. How the hell are you going to go back into the past? You have a time machine? No, you're going to go to therapy in 2020. And in 2020, the child who is eternal and still feels this way in 2020 is going to start expressing those fears. And then you're going to have somebody that understands those fears. And then you have somebody that begins to help empower you and help that little girl inside in 2020 to kind of catch up with the rest of you. And you do that in a lot of different ways. And that's what good therapy does. But what's happening, it sounds like you get in these contexts and you have what psychologists call a transference reaction. You begin to feel things about someone that actually belongs to some relationship in the past or some past trauma, which may be very big, right? You felt this a long time. Or it could be dynamic, certain dynamics create this as well. But it is an old fear reaction. Now, I would want you to begin to get with somebody who can understand that and unravel it. And there's probably some pain and fear that needs to be expressed. But the other thing is, there's also a desensitizing, okay, there's a desensitizing path to this where when you avoid all these situations, it kind of reinforces it. Like when you avoid getting on an airplane, kind of reinforces the fear of flying. So I would also want you to start very small, like maybe with a male therapist, maybe in a therapy group where there are men there, okay? Or maybe in some other little bitty steps where you open up and become a little vulnerable in that scenario and you kind of get desensitized to and learn, and then the child learns, oh, men aren't going to hurt me. And that's what kind of the recovery path is going to be like, and learning to change your thinking and all that. But I would want all of that for you. So working through the past stuff that's still very present, learning where it came from, the dynamics, and letting that child express her trauma, express her pain. If something did happen to you that was abusive or traumatic, that that pain is frozen, right, in a part of the brain, and it keeps living in the timeless circle and it keeps appearing. But if you begin to express it and it comes out and you talk about it, then it gets hooked up to other sides of the brain, which involve time sequencing and language and meaning and understanding and insight. And then it can finally be in the past instead of perpetually re-experienced in the present. And so that's why men and women, you know, hear this all the time. Well, I just have a problem with men, or I just have a problem with women. Well, you learned that somewhere. So let's unlearn it. Humans learn. Okay. So when you learn that 2 and 2 is 5, well, you're not doomed to get the wrong answer every time. You can learn that 2 and 2 is 4. And when you have new corrective healing experiences, you can learn, oh, 2 and 2 is not 5. 2 and 2 is 4. I went out on a date and this person treated me with respect. wow, I was scared out of my mind. I'm still kind of scared as I think about it. But as I think about it, and you do that over and over and over, and you know, find healing. Plus, you learn to be empowered. And I would go through some real empowering kinds of skills building, assertiveness, and getting in touch with being in charge. There's so much about this we could talk about. But I have great hope for you, great hope. And hope that you can find that, you know, good therapist. Go talk to your doctor, go talk to your pastor, go talk to friends that have seen a good therapist, check around, vet them well, and find a good one.